What's going on, YouTube? How's everybody doing today? I just wanted to get on here and chat with you guys a little bit. It's been a little bit since my last video. I'm going to try to make good on my promise of bringing regular content. It's been a little bit, but I just got back into pouring and I wasn't expecting the amount of orders that I got, and I got kind of caught up. But I'm definitely going to be setting some time aside to try to bring more regular content. Today, I just want to talk about basically my channel, my journey with silver stacking a little bit, when I got into it, why I got into it, why do I do what I do, and where I'm at today with it. So basically, back in 2013, 2014, I kind of stumbled upon silver stacking. I was and still am to this day, into guns and ammo and outdoors and hunting and a little bit of preparedness and things like that. And there was a couple different channels that I was into, and they brought up silver, and it was very foreign to me. I never thought about it. I knew about coins and things like that, but I never really thought about silver stacking. So I started diving into YouTube and watching different videos, and it was back in a time when Salivate Metal was first starting, Silverfish VT, quite a few other channels were out there. People were, talking about hedging against inflation and saving money and stacking silver and, stop buying the Starbucks and put your money into something else. And for me, it's always been a secondary savings account. It's something to where I can put money aside. I can scratch the itch of purchasing something, try to, it's become something of a business today for me, but it also is something where I continue to save, and I try to make smart purchases and try to accumulate things that are worth more than just spot. And that definitely has speculation and different things and different reasons, but not to get too far off topic. Back then, I got into it, and like a lot of people do, you start seeing all these people stacking all this metal, and you get really excited about it, and then you feel like you're behind the 8 ball, and it's something you want to get into, and you start purchasing a lot of things and maybe spending too much money on stuff. And you see all these mountains of metal that people have, and you try to accumulate as much as possible. And that's one of the rookie mistakes most people get into when they first get into stacking, is they purchase too much too fast. And unfortunately, some people have to, they go too far too fast, and they'll end up having to sell some stuff at a loss. Fortunately, I never ran across that myself, but in the beginning, it was pretty chaotic. Back then, people were into a lot of different things. The vintage market wasn't that hot. Poured silver was, relatively a very new thing. Most people were just collecting generics, like I said, Perth Mint, collectibles, Provident Metals, monthly things. There was just so many options. It was really easy to get caught up and then just build a stack of so many random objects where that really doesn't make much sense. And then you try to hone it in. You look at your dollar cost average and you try to hone it in and say, okay, what am I going to focus on? And eventually, once I got into it and kind of was all over the place, and I did a little bit of unboxings here and there, and I made some videos. I didn't really get too much into opinions or anything, because number one, I was new, and number two, back then, people were very, I guess they are still today, people are very adamant, and they get triggered easy, and have very strong opinions. And I've always been a person that tried to stay out of drama and not get caught up in any of that stuff. So I kept a lot of opinions to myself. But I'm hoping to open up a little bit more with you guys, and now that I am more experienced, now that I do have a business with it, now that I have many years and a decent sized stack, I've learned lots of things, lots of tips, tricks of the trade, different trends, what I think of the prices, what drives things. There's so many different conversations that I plan on having on this channel. So if that's definitely something that interests you, please like, comment, subscribe, hang out and chat with me. I plan on getting to a place to where I do lives also, and I can share my stacking, I can share my coin collecting, I can share my silver pouring. I got so much content that I want to bring out. But to get back to the stacking, after a while, you start to accumulate things and you start to narrow your focus. Like I stated, my focus kind of became more vintage oriented. Just to back up just a little bit too, I've always been a collector. So the vintage thing was fun for me because it gave me something to collect, and it also gave me something to hunt down. I was able to go to all the different coin shops and have friends online and trade back and forth and just hunt and try to find rare old pieces that were fun, that I believe have great character, and just brought me a lot of joy. So that definitely kept me interested. You know, there had always been other things that I was collecting, whether I was a young kid collecting sports cards, or one thing that I was really heavily into in the past was video games. And believe it or not, profit off of video games, you know, paid for, you know, pretty much my first 1,000 or so ounces of silver from buying original Nintendo games back in the day. And the market really boomed on that. It was something that I got into, purchased thousands and thousands of different games and collected that for a long time. And it's still something to this day that I have quite the collection of. I was never really a big gamer, but I always tried to find things that I could invest money into, that I could make money and have fun with, and actually have something physical in my possession. So video games did that for me, and even to this day, it's very difficult to find some of the more rare, expensive items. You know, I kind of got out of purchasing that years ago. But I can't knock it because, you know, sold a couple games, put a roof on my house. There's crazy money in video games, especially the older stuff. But I only brought that up just to let you know that's kind of how I did. You know, I'm just a family man, a regular man. I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. I always tried to move things around and make things work to accumulate more wealth for me and my family. And back when I first got into the silver stacking, that was a topic that a lot of people talked about, the average working man, you know, saving dollars here and dollars there and accumulating silver and stacking it away. And it was one way that, you know, a lot of people could set money aside without having it be too liquid to where you would blow it on things that you did not need. So that's kind of where I got started. And after a while, it turned into a crazy habit of collecting and hunting down pieces, and then eventually it turned into a business for me with pouring silver, which I got into the pouring of silver because I had a lot of friends that were doing it, and I had a passion for metals already, and I had a need to where I wanted to have a business for tax write-offs and lots of different things. But I don't want to get too much into the poured silver stuff of my own business today. It's more talking about my journey. So, after I narrowed my focus on vintage and accumulation of all the old stuff and art bars and poured bars, you know, that's kind of where I went with it, guys. You know, I've always tried to buck the trends a little bit. I tried to have a little bit of foresight. Obviously, nowadays, vintage silver is a boom. A lot of people are into it. People definitely recognize the premiums and the value in it. And of course, you know, the majority of the stuff in my stack and the stuff that I purchased back in the day were from local coin shops to where I got close to spot. You know, I'm definitely not going to tell you every single old vintage bar that I picked up I got $2 over spot. I've definitely paid up for pieces over the years for collector purposes, and I just thought that they were investments. Not necessarily that I think silver investments, but some things are investments. I also collect graded Morgans, things like that. I would look at those as investments, but not just necessarily stacking metal as an investment, if that makes sense. I have other things that I'm into, such as real estate and things like that, to where I believe are better investments. But having said all that, over the years, the accumulation of the silver has, for me personally, I've been able to, you know, set money aside in metal and not touch it and kind of hoard it. And, you know, over time it builds. So, you know, a little tip for everybody that gets into it, like I said, you're kind of all over the map and you're purchasing lots of stuff. Just have patience, guys. Your stack will grow and it'll get big over time, and a lot bigger than you probably would imagine. You just keep hunting for deals and show that patience. Don't be afraid to sit on your cash. You know, sometimes it's hard to not go online and look at all the different companies, APMEX, JM Bullion, Provident, and get bored and just buy something to buy something. You know, sometimes we all do that. But I would try to tell you to try to stay away from that and hunt down the deals. That's one tip that has always worked from me for the beginning. Put that aside and only purchase when you find something that you find out to be a great deal. Because I tell you what, when you come across those great deals, whether it's walking in or getting a call from your local coin shop saying, hey, we just got a big lot of vintage bars in, I know you've been looking for them, having that liquid cash to go in and buy them all instead of blowing it all on other things, and then you miss out on those opportunities. Because there's always more metal than you're going to have liquid cash in your pocket unless you're just a very rich person, okay? And I know a majority of us are working class, middle class, whatever, just trying to put some stuff aside. Whether you're trying to save it like myself, or you see it as a hedge against inflation, which I also do, or some of you out there are preppers and you're collecting 90% because you think you might have to barter with it someday. I'm definitely not going to knock anybody's reasoning for collecting metals. Or purchasing metals or stacking it or hoarding it, what have you. We all do it for our own reasons. And, I will never say one reason is better than the next. I just share with you what I do. So to get back to that, I got into pouring, and a lot of different things had changed in my life, and I got away from posting on YouTube. I still have lots of friendships with people out there, and some of you I haven't spoken to in a long time, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with. But when I got into the business aspect of it, my strategies changed. I got away from purchasing, quote unquote, semi-numies or just regular generic. I purged 90% out of my stack, non-pure silver, to be more specific, out of my stack, except for my coin collection. Because a person like me who pours silver, in my mind, it makes more sense to have pure silver, so no matter what the market does, I could possibly melt it down and turn it into something that I can generate profits with. So that's kind of why it's not necessarily that I dislike 90%. Just for me, it's not something that I focus on. And, not to get off too much on a tangent, but I do want to give my opinion regarding non-pure silver. And, this comes from some of the older generation that runs the coin shops, or used to run. Most of them are retired and gone now, guys. Those LCSs won't be around forever. Some of the older guys that were around in the big boom of 1980, they did tell me when the supply and demand was crazy, the supply was coming in and everybody was coming in and dumping their silver, trying to capitalize on the huge spike. They got a lot less money for anything that was not pure, because a lot of that silver is going to refiners. And if the refiners are overloaded with silver, what makes more sense to you if they have a lot of pure silver coming in? Are they going to give you those big premiums for any unpure silver that they have to do a lot more work for when they're already really busy? If that makes sense to you, then just be mindful of how much non-pure silver, if you're going to buy 40% or 80% or 50%, or even if you get a decent deal on it. Okay, that's just some food for thought. And again, I'm not beating up 90% or sterling or anything like that. I'm just, be mindful that if you plan on dumping during a big spike like that, you may get quite a bit less for things like that when supply and demand changes. A lot of us will stack with strategies of selling at certain places. A lot of people will look at what their LCS likes. But what the LCS likes are different. It changes all the time. Sometimes they want 90% and they'll pay you well for it. Sometimes they want, whatever it is, buffaloes, what have you. But the LCS one may not even be there when you're ready to sell, or the supply and demand and the trends may have changed. So just be mindful on the premiums that you spend on stuff. No matter what you buy, whether it's vintage or what have you, always be mindful of the spread and the premiums. That's the most important thing that you can watch for when you're stacking throughout the years. And that's one thing that I've always paid attention to. But this video is getting kind of long, and I'm just kind of getting into the story, so it's going to be a little bit longer. But when I got into pouring silver, it was pretty fun. It was a new experience for me. It wasn't the first small business that I've owned, but it gave me something to, kind of hone my my excitement and my passion for metals into creating stuff for myself. It kind of got me out of the community just due to lack of time and everything, but it really opened my eyes too to trends and pricing and wholesaling and what people are into, what they're not into. Again, when I got into it, places like YPS were just starting out, or had just been starting out for a short amount of time, and having a little cube of silver or poured silver was something odd and foreign to a lot of people, and it got a lot of pushback from some of the older members that were just focused on the cheapest metal possible, and they would preach to you that's the only way that you need to stack, and anything else is ridiculous. And they used to laugh at $3 over spot for some poured chunk that somebody made. Well, what I'll have to say to that is that's okay if that's what they want to do, but there's a lot of poured silver that I bought back in the day from people that have did it out of their garage, or small businesses or pieces that demand huge premiums today. So just keep an open mind, okay, guys? I'm not telling you, and I'm not pushing my poured silver. I'm not telling you to go buy anything from me. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just saying keep an open mind, and do what works best for you and what you're interested in. You can take tips from me, or you can take tips from anybody, but at the end of the day, it's your money, and you do with it what you want. You purchase what you want. You purchase what you're passionate about, and if it keeps you purchasing metals, then you're doing the right thing, okay? Because I still think metals are a good hedge, are a good thing to put some money into, not too much money, but some money into. It definitely is not going to hurt you to sit on this stuff, as long as you don't feel like, as long as you're not trying to get rich overnight and you see it for what it is and it's a long-term thing, then you're in the right place. But for me, to this day, I still purchase consistently. I still focus on vintage silver. And when prices went way down and a lot of people were getting out of silver and buying, at my opinion, overpriced gold, that's when I sold my gold, about doubled my profit on my gold, and I just backed up the truck and bought all the vintage that I possibly could. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I've definitely made some good decisions as far as those. And I was fortunate enough, I'm not trying to say I'm definitely smart. I just made a good decision is all. And not all the decisions we're going to make with our purchases in metal are going to be great, and I realize that. And the boom in vintage silver right now may not continue. But I will tell you this, supply and demand drives most markets, and the demand for vintage is high. Try to find some art bars or old poured bars in your LCS today and see what you can find. With the secondary market really catching on with Instagram, whatnot, Facebook, Etsy, Reddit, you name it. There's so many different avenues to sell stuff now. People are gung-ho about vintage and collectibles and things like that, and there's been, regardless what anybody said, there's been a lot of money and a lot of purchases that people have been buying up stuff, and I know that's starting to dry up. People feel the crunch from the gas prices. People are feeling the crunch from different businesses having to shut down, and all this crazy COVID stuff that's changed the dynamic of everything. But there had been a lot of people still getting into metals. It seems like it's more popular now than ever. With the recent decrease in price, that is going to drop people out. Just like I said, it's a funny thing. When metals go down, people stop purchasing. They wait till it spikes and then they get all gung-ho. And I can tell you, if you go out there and you listen to a lot of people, when it goes down, they just get disinterested. They just stop buying. But what I'll tell you is just to continue to purchase consistently. Don't be going out and blowing your cashing in your 401 or anything and backing up the truck right now. That's not what I'm telling you. I'm just saying purchase consistently, and over a period of time, you'll have a good dollar cost average, and you'll have a nice stack that will help you sleep better at night. That's my 2 cents. But the other thing that I will tell you too, and I'm not going to tell you that silver prices are going to go up higher or they're going to go lower. I have no idea. But what I can tell you is I've always tried to, like I stated earlier, buck the trends and do what other people aren't doing. So a lot of people feel that it's going to go lower or it's going to stay low for a long time. Well, don't be surprised if it just pops right back up. And again, I'm not saying it's going to pop back up. I'm just saying most of the time, These metals do the opposite of what we think they're going to do. So always keep that in the back of your mind and don't get fixated on a certain number before you purchase. Say, well, I'm not going to purchase till 15 or 16 or whatever it is. Just purchase consistently, dollar cost average. Don't pay a lot of premium. Don't be out there paying, the bazillion-dollar premium on Eagles right now. Don't be doing that. Look for the best deals and only purchase when you feel it is a good deal. Don't buy it just to buy it. That's about the best advice that I can give you if you are into stacking, no matter how long you've been doing it. But today, at this point in time, I'm still a hoarder. I still purchase consistently, even though I haven't been posting content. I do a lot more than just pour silver. I've always been hunting it down and been accumulating and having fun with it. And I'll continue to do that for a long time. And, one day, hopefully, it'll pay off for me. I don't plan on dumping my stack, with a big spike is what I was going to say. What I'm going to do is probably hold on to it. My kids will get most of it, or say if I'm older, I can go dump a bar or two here or there, pay a bill, or go on a vacation. That's kind of how I look at it. It's just a savings account that's going to be sitting there when I'm older and I need the money. That's kind of how I look at it, if I get to that point. So that's a mouthful, and I know this is getting to be a very long video, but we'll have to break these up, and I know I just touched on a few different things. I'll try to continue to go a little more in depth with different things, but as far as my journey with stacking, that's where I'm at today, still continuing to purchase consistently like I always tell you guys. That's where I started, got all excited like everybody else did, kind of honed in what I like and what I go after. And if you've been doing it for a while, you probably do the same thing. I try not to jump all over the place or get too excited with market swings. And after a while, you'll have a stack that you feel comfortable with, and hopefully you make the right decisions. And hopefully everybody's making the right decisions right now and not getting all crazy. And every time there's a dollar swing up or down, everybody loses their mind and they don't realize it's been trading sideways for a few years, and this is the first time we've been low like this in a few years. The first, I think, 5-6 years that I stacked, it went from 12 to 21 and all over the map. But basically, the medium, average price was 17, and that never really changed. The only thing that really changed were the premiums. So don't get focused on the spot price too much. Pay more attention to the spreads, pay more attention to the premiums, and just try to make wise decisions. But that's it for today, guys. It's a very long video. Thank you if you hung in with me. I'm definitely going to be bringing more content, more chats like this. Again, I like to try to get to the point to where I can do some lives and be a little more interactive with everybody, share my pouring, share my stack, share a lot more with you guys. So hopefully I'll see you on the next one.